What's up guys, welcome back to SP Vids, and in this video I want to go over the topic of finger drumming. Now this is something that you guys have asked for in the comments, so I thought it was a really good idea for a video, so let's crack on straight away and get into this. What I'm going to do is start from absolute beginner level and slowly build up to the more advanced drumming patterns that you can do, and at the same time as I'm going along I'm going to throw some tips and tricks in here and there to hopefully improve your overall finger drumming and get you to a place where you're a lot happier than you are at the moment. I assume that's why you're watching this video, is that you want a little bit of help getting your drum sounding a little bit nicer. So hopefully this video helps you guys. I'll start off by talking about the arrangement. If you're brand new to finger drumming, I think one of the best things you can do to start off and get a grasp of laying down a drum beat is to have your pad set up like this. So that's kick, hi-hat, snare, right? So have those three pads set up like that, and this is literally how easy it is to lay down a drum beat with this pattern. So if you're brand new to finger drumming, you might also find it useful to count. You'd just be counting 1 to 4, so 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So try and keep in time with that, and obviously timing isn't something that comes overnight. I've been a drummer for quite a few years when I was a teenager, and I've managed to adapt a lot of that sort of natural rhythm and groove to the SP, so the timing might take a little bit of time to come, ironically, but if you just keep working at it and keep counting in your head, or you can just count out loud obviously because you're not having to worry about a microphone picking your voice up, that is something that can definitely help at first. Also, one quick tip is make sure you have all your drum sounds with gate turned off. So you'll see gate here, make sure that light is off for all your drum sounds. Okay, it's not there. Because if you don't, and you just tap the pad when you're doing a pattern, you get this kind of sound, which obviously isn't great. So turn gate off, and then even if you just slightly tap the pad, you get the full sample sound, so that's way better for your drums. You definitely always want gate turned off for your drums. Make sure obviously loop is turned off as well, you don't want it looping, otherwise you're going to get this situation. I mean, that could be quite useful if you're making a dance beat, but you get the idea, you don't want loop on for this. Okay, so if you can get this pattern down, really simple stuff. You can definitely use that in your lo-fi beats. I hear that used a lot in lo-fi hip-hop, and it's just a really basic beat that works quite well, and it's very easy to pick up as well. So that's definitely a good first step, is get that little beat nailed down, and then we can move on to the next thing. So the next thing I want to talk about very quickly is swing. Now, I'm not a music theory guy, so I'm not going to be able to explain the theory of this to you. I picked all this up by ear, basically, listening to hip-hop, listening to people like Jay Dilla, who obviously is a pioneer of that humanized drum sound, getting your drums to sound like they're actually being played by a person rather than being heavily quantized and played by a robot or a computer, essentially. So I'm going to show you how you can swing a beat. Now, this is really important for hip-hop in general, lo-fi hip-hop, boom bap, all those subgenres of hip-hop, they all will pretty much have swing in. I mean, obviously you don't have to have swing in a beat, but you will hear it a lot. So the best way to demonstrate it is with just me playing. I'll play the beat straight, and then I'll play the beat with swing, and see if you can notice the difference. So this is straight, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. Now this is swung. Straight, and swung, so basically to get that sound you want to be bringing in this snare a little bit earlier than you usually do. See how you kind of have to wait there for the snare to be in time, 1 2 3 4, but with the swing it's 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4, 1 2 3 4. So practice that little pattern, get that swing into your head, because it's really useful as you progress as a finger drummer, and it's really useful on lo-fi beats as well, and other genres of hip-hop, subgenres of hip-hop, because it's just going to add that much more interesting vibe to your beats. So that's really about feel and just getting that feel into your head, and it will definitely help with you being able to make more interesting patterns moving forward. Okay, so I think that's pretty much the basics covered, and what we're going to do now is swap those sounds over again. So this is the setup that I always have. I have it kick, snare, hi-hat on 9, 10 and 11. That's the way I always have had my drum set up, and obviously over time, the more I've practiced, the better I've got with finger drumming. So I definitely recommend that you find a pattern that you're comfortable with having your samples in, and then stick to that and just continue to practice in that format. So the first thing we're going to talk about now is, now that you've moved this hi-hat over, it means that you can play the hi-hat on every note and have the kick and the snare being played independently. So now we can get this going. So this is playing a beat on every 8th note now. So you're counting 1, 2, 3, 4, but you're playing this on the notes in between as well, on the grid in between, if that makes sense. So I'll demonstrate now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or you can count faster. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is where finger drumming can start to get a bit tricky if you're a beginner. You need to be able to start playing the kick and the hi-hat at the same time as you're hitting you need to be playing the kick and the snare at the same time as you're hitting the hi-hat. So just start off by getting the kick in. And then you can practice with the snare as well. So notice how the kick will be on the 1st and 3rd. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the snare is going to be on the 1, 2. The snare is going to be on 2 and 4. Okay, sorry, a little bit complicated for me to try and do all that in my head. So 1 and 3 for the kick. 1, 2, 3, 4. And the snare is on 2 and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So once you get that down, now you're going to have to move to get that going at the same time. So 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. This is the point where it gets really interesting, because hip hop is basically based off of this pattern. Essentially a 4/4 drum loop with kick on 1 and 3 and snare on 2 and 4. They're not going to be that exact pattern in every beat. They're not going to be that pattern at all, hardly. But there'll be variations of that pattern. So let me demonstrate. This is basically, if you can get this down, you're well on your way to becoming a good finger drummer, and then you can just start adding variations to make your beat sound more interesting. So let me demonstrate. I'll do a couple of bars of the standard beat, and then I'll add in variations, and you'll see how you're starting to make fully fledged sort of hip hop, boom bap drum loops. So let's go through that now. Okay, so hopefully that shows you there that the snare is still always hitting on the 2nd and 4th, but the bass drum is kind of doing a lot of other different stuff, which I'll quickly talk through now. And the hi-hat is always doing that consistent. So the next thing that you want to get down to advance your drum patterns even further is this double kick sound. Now what you can do is copy the sound onto the pad above. That can be helpful. I've actually just ended up teaching myself how to do a quick double tap like this. Because then it gives me another free pad to use for samples. So basically you've got the choice there. You can either do the 2 pads above each other, or you can just put some practice in getting this double tap right. So my finger doesn't actually come off the pad when I do that. It's pressing it, not coming off, and then pressing it again very quickly. So don't lift off because you're going to lose time. So it'd probably be very hard. I don't even know if it's possible to hit the pad quickly enough with bringing your finger off. So you press the button and release it, but keep your finger on the pad. So get that double kick down. See, there you go. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it, the tighter they're going to sound. And start throwing that double kick in at various points in the bar. So this is where listening to hip hop, boom bap, golden era hip hop, and lo-fi is going to help your drumming leaps and bounds, basically, because you'll get ideas from where to put those double kicks in the bars, especially I think boom bap and golden era hip hop. There's a lot of this double kick sound going on, and it'll be very prominent in the mix as well, because it's a genre that's driven by the kick drum doing those like double hits and having all sorts of cool, interesting rhythms about the kick. So if you can get that double down and then start throwing it in at various points, that's going to really up your finger drumming game. So I'm just playing these nice and slow, so hopefully you can get some ideas. Oh, that one went a bit wild there. So the last thing I want to talk about now is that we've got that pattern down, we've got it to an advanced level where we're playing the double kicks as well, and we want to be able to add swing to that as well, and that is possible. And I'm going to demonstrate for you now. I'll do the straight up beat again, and then I'll add in the swing. So this is just straight. Sounds quite robotic, there's not much human feel in it. That's what we want to get away from. So let's start swinging that hi-hat, and that's the pattern you want to get down for swung hi-hats. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8. So if you can get that hi-hat down first, pretty difficult on this broken button that I've now got. And again, just start adding in the kick and the snares. So that sounds way more interesting than... And here's the swing version. Okay, so I think that's basically most of the stuff I wanted to talk to you about. That's going from your very first kind of drum beat right up to being able to play the same sort of patterns as some of the world's biggest lo-fi and golden era boom bap producers. And hopefully you've learned something from that. The main thing I would say to get your drumming really tight and a higher standard is basically you have just got to sit down and put the hours in practicing. Now I think we've just trying to make so many lo-fi beats over the years, like I've done, your drumming naturally becomes better, your timing will become better. I obviously had that little bit of advantage of being a drummer previously that helped me because I already knew about drum patterns and how to put a drum loop together really, but you can definitely pick it up pretty quickly. Like I said, one of the best tips is basically just listen to hip hop, listen to golden era hip hop, listen to boom bap, listen to lo-fi, and start trying to emulate those patterns that they're doing. You can even feed a line into your SP and just try and drum along. I think I've done that before, and it's actually really useful because you start to realize when they're throwing in extra little kicks. Now obviously what you do have to remember is some of the golden era hip hop and that kind of era of production, they probably would have been laying down the samples into a sequencer and doing them one at a time. So if they're getting too complicated for you to play, you probably think, well, maybe they're not doing all those parts at the same time. They're probably doing them one at a time and using a programmer like the MPC to put them together. So there are restraints on finger drumming, but I think if you can get to the standard that I've just shown you through that little process that I've mapped out there, you're gonna have more than enough skill to be able to put a decent pattern down to a lo-fi beat that you're making, or a hip-hop beat that you're making. So that's it for this one, guys. If you need some lo-fi drum sounds, please head to my website and pick up some of the packs. It's spvids.com. There's a link in the description. I really appreciate all the packs that you've been buying. It's basically, my dream is to have this as a full-time job, so I've been working towards that over the last couple of years, and it's getting closer and closer now. So anything you can do to support the channel, I'd really appreciate it. Hope you're all doing well out there. If you want to leave a comment and ask any questions, please do. I always answer comments, and I try and speak to everyone that leaves a comment, because I really appreciate all the comments that you leave. Apart from that, take care, guys, and I'll see you all again very soon. Peace!